Hey guys, as promised, here's the sewing tutorials for the shoulder bustier dress. So I added facing and also wording to the patterns. So I shaped it to the cup shape, that's to the cup size, and I started fixing it from the upper chest line to the under bust line here. Then I did the same thing for the center front. I fixed it from the upper chest line to the under bust. So I repeated the same thing on other patterns. This is the back. I added interfacing also. This is the lining. So now I'll be joining it by the sides by 1/2 inch. So I'll start sewing it from the lower part like so. So I'll make sure they're aligning from the underbust. Then I'm going to sew it all the way to the end of the shoulder. So I'll be sewing it by 1/2 inch. I'll repeat the same thing here. I'll pin it up. Then I'll sew it by 1/2 inch. So we'll have something like this. I'll repeat the same thing on the lining. I'll sew them by 1/2 inch, like so. Then on the back pattern, I'm going to do a loose stitch on this part, on the zipper area, and I'll show you. So I've joined the sides and center pattern together by 1/2 inch. I also notched it and I gave it a good press here. So this is the outcome. Then on the lining, I repeated the same thing. I stitched it by 1/2 inch. So now I'll be joining the neckline together, good side facing good side on the neck like this. So I'll be sewing it by 1/4 inch, but before then I'll just go ahead and pin it up. So it's going to be like this. So I'll be sewing it here from here by 1/4 inch all the way to the end. So we'll have something like this when we sew it. Then on the back pattern, I just did a loose stitch for the zipper. I'll be losing it later on because I want to join the neckline also. So I'll sew it by 1/4 inch and stop where the zip will stop here. I'll repeat the same thing on this other side. Then I'll do that and I'll come back and show you. So guys, this is our neckline. I've attached it to that's the fabric and the lining together. I've also done the same thing for the back. I joined the neckline. I left 1 inch open here for the zipper allowance. So the next thing I'll be doing is to fix the shoulder. That is, sew the shoulder together. That's the front and the back shoulder. And to do that, I'm going to open it up. I'll open the lining and the fabric like so, making sure it's aligning on the stitched part. Then I'm going to pin it up. So I'll be sewing this part by 1/2 inch. So we'll have something like this when we sew it. So I'll repeat the same thing for the other shoulder. So I'll sew it and show you. So guys, I fixed the shoulder. So this is the part I stitched here. I stitched it by 1/2 inch. Then I turned it over and we have this. So this is where our zipper will be. I'll be stitching my zipper by 1 inch later on, and this open part will be sewing it. Now the next thing I'll be doing is to fix the dart on the skirt. So I've stitched the skirt dart. I stitched it by 1/2 inch. I used 5 inch for the length of the dart, and the back also I'll be stitching the back dart. So these are the zipper we'll be fixing to the dress. One will be at the skirt and the other will be at the top. So I'll be fixing it here. This is the top part of the dress. So I'll be fixing it and I'll show you. So I fixed the zipper to the dress. So I left 1/2 inch at the lower part before fixing the zip, and I'll be trimming out the excess later. So it's going to be open like this. So the next thing I'll do is to reduce the lower side, that is on the waist part. I'll be reducing it by 2 inches because I want to fix a band to it. So I'll just go ahead and mark 2 inches here. I'll cut it out. So I'll be cutting it also on the lining. I'll be reducing the lining also. So this is the back. I'll reduce it also by 2 inches because we are going to replace it with a band, like I said. This is the other side of the back panel. I'm reducing it by 2 inches. So I've gone ahead to cut out the band. I added interfacing to it. So her waist round is 33 inches, but I have about 35 inches here for seam allowance and zipper allowance. And the width I'm using 2.5 inches. So I cut out 2 bands, and I've also added interfacing on both of them. So I cut out 2 bands. So now on the zip side, I'm going to join the lining and the fabric together here. I'll stitch it close to this first stitch. I'll close it. After closing it, I'll also close this cuff part. I'll sew it here by 1/4 inch. Remember this part that is open, I'm joining the lining and the fabric together. I'm pinning it up, then I'll sew it by 1/4 inch. So I'll sew from this zipper part. After sewing it, then I'll also sew on this curved part. So it's going to look like this. So I'll just go ahead and sew it and show you. So I've attached the lining to the zipper like this, and also on the curved part. So now I'll be joining the front and back side seams together, but to get that, I'm going to take the bust round measurement. Her bust is 40 divided by 2. It will give me 20 inches. I'll mark it here, and I have excess of about 5 inches. So I'm going to divide it into 2. I'll place 2.5 inches here and the other 2.5 inches here. And our under bust is 33 divided by 2 to give me 16.5. I have excess of about 6 inches. So I'll turn it over. Then I'll mark my 2.5 inches on the bust here. Then the 3 inches on the under bust here. So I'll mark it out. Repeat the same thing on the other side. So I'll be joining lining to lining and fabric to fabric. For the lining, I'll give a little ease to it so that it will not be too tight. I'll be joining the front and back skirt together. Her waist is 33 divided by 2 to give me 16.5. I have excess of 3.5, so I'll divide it into 2. I'll have 1.75. I'll mark it here and also here. And on the hip, her hip is 44 divided by 2. It will give me 22. So when I check it, I have excess of about 5 inches. So I'll divide it into 2. That will be 2.5 inches. So I'll mark it here and also here. So I'll take it all the way to the full length. So I'll connect the lines. So I'll be joining the lining to lining and fabric to fabric like we did for the top part. So I'll do that and I'll show you. So this is the top. As you can see, it's already taking shape. Now on the skirt part, I've joined the side seams. I joined lining to lining and fabric to fabric, and I top stitch it at the waist part here. So I left the center back open. So I'll be turning it over good side to good side. This is the center back. I'll be sewing it by 1/4 inch here. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side and I'll show you. I've joined the lining and fabric together on the center back. So good side to good side. So this is the center back. Now on the lower part of the skirt, I reduced the lining by 1 inch. So the lining is shorter by 1 inch. So I'll turn it to the good side like this. I'll sew it together. I'll be sewing it by 1/2 inch. So I've joined it. This is on the wrong side, as you can see. So this is the center back. So I joined the center back by 1 inch and I left 9 inches here open for zipper allowance. And I've also joined the lower part. Now I'll be fixing the band to the skirt. So I'll fix it this way. I'll leave 1/2 inch here. So I'll be sewing it by 1/4 inch. Then I'll place the second band on this other side. So the skirt is in between the two bands. And I left extra 1/2 inch at the beginning. So I'll be sewing it by 1/4 inch. I'm just trying to pin it up to show you what it would look like. So I left extra 1/2 inch also at this part. So I'll make sure I align it. This band, I'll align it with the main skirt like this. So I'll stitch this part here to close it. So we'll have something like this, so that it will align with the skirt, so that the band will align with the skirt. So guys, I've gone ahead to stitch the band to the skirt. So as you can see, the band is aligning with the zipper allowance. So now I'll be fixing the zip here like this. But I think I'll be fixing the zip later. Before I fix the zip, I'll just attach the top to the skirt. What I'll do is on this side seam, I'm going to mark the side seam on the band like so that it will tally with the side seam of the top. So I'm going to place them together like this so that it will align. So I'm going to use one band to sew on the skirt, sorry, to sew on the top. So I'm going to pin it up. So I'll make sure this side seam on the skirt aligns with the top. So we'll have something like this when we are done with the band. Now I'm going to top stitch the second band on the top here. So from the beginning here, remember this side is going to be open here. So what I'll do, I'm going to fix the zipper here. Then after fixing my zipper, I'm going to fold it in like this by 1/4 inch. You can also iron it so that it will stay firm. So I'll fold this part and fold the other part like this. Then I'm going to top stitch it all the way. So I'll also fold this side here. Then I'll continue sewing it until I use the second band to cover the top like this. So I'll fold here. Then I'm going to sew it to close the top. So I'll do the same thing all the way. I'll fold these parts. I'll advise you iron it so that it will stay firm. So I'll fold it and top stitch on it so that I'll close the top, so that I'll have a neat finishing. So when I get to the end, I'll repeat the same thing. I'll fold this side in like this. Then I'm going to top stitch it here. So I'll sew it and I'll show you. So guys, I've gone ahead to fix the band to the top. It's looking very neat. We are done with this part. Now the next thing is to reshape the armhole. So I'll retake her measurement. So her shoulder measurement is 15. So I'll mark the 15 inches and I have excess of about 2.5 inches. So I'll be using 1 inch on both sides to reshape the armhole. And half of her armhole is 8 inches. So after taking the 1 inch on the shoulder, I'm going to place the 8 inches on that 1 inch. Then I'll mark it here. Then I'll reshape the armhole. So I'll cut through this line. So I'm cutting the front armhole first. So the front armhole is half an inch deeper than the back. So I'll repeat the same thing on the other armhole. Now for the sleeve, I decided to add extra volume. I used 1/4 of what I have here to cut this part here so that it will give it more fullness. I decided to make it fuller than what I have. So I'll be sewing it here. I'll attach it here like this. So it will give it more fullness. Then I'll be pleating this part. I'll be pleating here on the armhole. I'll pleat the excess so that it will look fuller. Then on the hemline, I'm going to weave it. Then I'll sew it. I'll stitch it by 1 inch. So after I hem it, I'll add elastic to it. So I've also gone ahead to cut the second part of the sleeve. So I'll sew it and I'll show you. So this is our sleeve. I've added the extra to it. So this is the part I stitched. So it's giving it a fuller effect. So this is the hemline. I stitched it by 1 inch and I also weaved it. So this is the armhole. I've top stitched it with the lining so that it will be one piece. So now I'll be fixing the sleeve to the dress. That is good side to good side. I'll tuck it in like so. Then I'll be pleating it. I'll pleat the excess on the sleeve. So I'll be pleating it until I get the exact sleeve round. So I'll sew it by half an inch. After sewing it, I'll be fixing an elastic. So guys, I've stitched the sleeve. I pleated it. This is the part I pleated all round. So I left this part open that I'll be fixing the elastic. So I'll top stitch this part after fixing the elastic. So this is the elastic. I used her round sleeve to cut it and I reduced it by 1 inch. So I'll fix it and show you. So guys, we are done with this dress. So this is the outcome of our sleeve. This is the elastic. So this is the full dress. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching.